Greetings gamers, Nexus here, and we have an interesting topic to cover today. As we all know, loot boxes and all other facets of microtransactions have plagued the gaming industry for a while, and it doesn't look like it will stop anytime soon either, as evident by the recent success of Call of Duty Warzone, which is a free-to-play battle royale game published by Activision, and it made close to $2 billion in revenue just last year. Video game industry is booming, and it remained largely unaffected during the 2020 pandemic too, with the yearly revenue being estimated at more than $150 billion in 2020. With those kinds of numbers, it's no secret that the games industry is very lucrative, and all these big players are constantly trying to monetize their products to gain as much profit as possible. But most of their recent monetization schemes have been deemed morally and ethically wrong, not just by the people or gamers, but by governing bodies as well, like in Belgium and the Netherlands, where they have taken a stance against these predatory loot box mechanics and rightfully banned them from video games. But an ex-EA president of the sports division, Peter Moore, begs to differ, and went as far as to say that loot boxes are a long way from gambling. This interesting development came from an interview conducted by a news outlet, GameIndustry.biz, where Peter Moore defended the existence of these gambling mechanics and even went as far as to say that people actually love it. But before we dive into the interview itself, make sure to like and subscribe to my channel with bell notifications on so you never miss out on any future videos. Peter Moore was a former president of the EA Sports Division and is currently the CEO of Liverpool Football Club and also the director of mobile sports titles at Nifty Games. It was during his reign that loot boxes were implemented in FIFA games. It started with FIFA 2009 with the inception of the Ultimate Team mode, which was very popular amongst the younger audience due to the fact that by opening these loot boxes, there was a very slim chance that the player could score a very rare player who had the best stats than any other standard player in the game, and having better players than your opponent could mean the difference between winning and losing in this game mode. So in essence, these loot boxes were essentially pay to win. In the interview, Moore was very quick to establish that his views were of an outsider, insinuating that there is no bias in his beliefs since he doesn't work for EA anymore, something he kept saying multiple times during the course of the interview. He begins by saying that the concept of Ultimate Team goes all the way back to the 1920s and 30s with cigarette cards, and as well as UK Lucky Bags, which were a pack of randomized goodies which he used to love as a child. He goes on by saying that the experience of opening something and not knowing what will be inside is appealing to many, hence the popularity of Ultimate Team unboxing videos. Now, these videos that he is referring to are pack opening videos, and almost all of the popular videos in this category have one thing in common, where the content creator would spend hundreds if not thousands of real world currency to open these packs, as it won't be a good video unless the creator gets at least one of the highly sought after cards to make it interesting for their audience. And with an incredibly low drop chance for these cards, it's obvious that you need to open a lot of packs, ergo spending a lot of money. So from the get-go, Mr. Moore actually approves of spending ridiculous amounts of money on such surprise mechanics, and to follow in the footsteps of these YouTubers who are spending ridiculous amounts of money on these card packs. Did I mention that the FIFA game is rated for ages 3 and up? Yeah, the most egregious form of monetization is available to little children. I wonder if anything bad would happen. Well, it did. Back in 2019, 4 children from a UK household spent £550 on these card packs unbeknownst to their parents. And when the shocked father found out about this, he went public and demanded a refund, and rightfully so. Fortunately for him, he did get a refund from EA, who I presume didn't want any controversy on their hands at the time. But do you know what the worst part about all of it was? The father took away the Switch from his children indefinitely. The father's words, not mine. Now imagine that. EA ruined the childhood of 4 children because of their greed. If that doesn't tell you what kind of company EA is, then I don't know what will. Anyways, moving on with the interview. Moore continued by defending loot boxes, saying they're not gambling because the player is at least getting something, stating, "This is a personal view, but the concept of surprise and delight, ooh, that's a new one, versus gambling on a continuum, they're a long way from each other. You buy or grind your way up to getting a gold pack. You open it up and you're either happy or you think it's a crappy pack. I don't see that as gambling per se, but again, this is my personal view as an outsider right now." You sure about that, Mr. Moore? Well, let's look at Exhibit B, where a student blew all of his university savings on loot boxes. Now this one is a doozy, ladies and gentlemen, so buckle in as I tell you the story of one Jonathan Pennicat, who enjoyed buying random player packs to build up his team on FIFA football video game, but when his mom was diagnosed with cancer, his spendings on these packs or loot boxes became, as he sees it, an addiction he couldn't control. According to Mr. Jonathan, he states, "I've loved video games since I was a child. I remember waking up early on weekends and heading straight downstairs to play FIFA 05 with the sounds turned off so I wouldn't wake my parents. Now 21, I am fortunate to have made some of my closest friends online, and I think video games can be great for any child. I stress this before saying that I feel compelled to tell my story of how loot box gambling led to one of the worst experiences of my life. In 2009, EA Sports launched the Ultimate Team mode with their FIFA series. It's like a huge online football trading card game, and users can then add these players to their teams. Better players give you an advantage, and there is a virtual currency and market where these cards are traded. You can buy packs containing a random selection of cards. I distinctly remember back in 2012 when I first asked my parents if I could use my money to buy packs, and my frustration when my dad said the packs were gambling before finally agreeing. The idea that it was gambling seemed ridiculous to me at the time. I understood that the chances of packing my favorite players were low. I spent the money, opened my packs, got lucky a couple of times, and tried to be positive despite being left feeling slightly underwhelmed. If I could just spend another 15, I thought. 4 years followed of spending more and more money on player packs, each time seeking that buzz that would only occasionally come. As time went on, I was becoming increasingly secretive about it. I would buy a voucher from a high street shop and hide it in my room so my parents would find out how much I was spending. At the time, I had nothing else I would rather spend my money on. I thought each time that this time would be the one where I got lucky. When I was 17, I got my first debit card, and suddenly the decision to spend money on the game became instant. Just a click of a button away, with no need to buy the vouchers and worry that my parents would find them. 2017 was the year that changed everything in my life. I was completing my last year of A-levels with vague plans to go to university. In September, my mum was diagnosed with cancer. Everything became about waiting until the day it would all just be a memory. Waiting until the day that my mum's treatment would be over, when I'd have finished my exams and we could all appreciate normal life again. I searched for any way to cope. The buzz of opening packs offered me an escape. Any rational sense of moderation and the value of money that my parents and grandparents have saved for my future began to subside. I felt that I needed the money now to cope, and that in years to come my future self would somehow understand. I was spending 30 at a time, then 40 pounds, then 50. By the time my card began to block my transactions, I was throwing 80 pounds into the game 4 or 5 times a night. A few weeks before my exams, after days of watching people opening packs on YouTube whilst my parents thought I was upstairs devising, the moment came when the money ran out. Money that my parents and grandparents had worked for, that had been given to me as savings for my future. I had blown almost £3,000. I accept responsibility for what happened. The decision I made to spend that money were made by me. My parents were heartbroken when they found out and read through the bank statements. Looking back at what happened, one of the things that sticks out to me is how my spendings was going on without any of my family's knowing. We had family rules and restrictions on gaming time, so there was no lack of parental regulation, and I frequently told my concerned parents I was not addicted to video games themselves. I stand by that now, but I was addicted to the buzz of chance when I bought packs. I agree now that my dad said that so angered me back in 2012. Video game packs and loot boxes are a form of gambling. I owe it to my teenage selves and to others who will regret spending money on loot boxes to do what I can to end these utter exploitations. Wow, that is a real eye-opener right there, and as far as I know, Mr. Pennycat never got a refund from EA. If you have watched the video up to this point, then I just want to say that you are an absolute legend, and if you're enjoying the content, then please make sure to like and subscribe. Alright, moving on with Peter Mo's interview. When asked about all the backlash and scrutiny the company had gotten in recent years, he replied with, "I get the scrutiny. I understand outside of sports that loot boxes, again, another EA title in particular, is referring to the Star Wars Battlefront 2 debacle at this point, get a lot of scrutiny and criticism. EA pulled back on that. One thing that we're always good at is getting feedback and realizing, you know what, probably shouldn't have done that. Or get this, that was the wrong decision. It wasn't gamer first." This man has some balls, I'll give him that. Saying all of this must fill him with a sense of pride and accomplishment. But he's not done there, as he's mentioned the Ultimate Team modes accounted for $1.49 billion or 27% of EA's net revenue for the previous financial year and made over $1 billion for at least 2 years prior. The numbers speak for themselves, says Moore, and if you play it, you love it. One of the only complaints we got about Ultimate Team while I was at EA was if the servers went down and they couldn't play or open their packs. The fact that this is his only concern was the servers getting shut down and players not being able to open their packs speaks volumes about what EA is all about. Never mind the yearly reskins of these games being sold at $60 with literally no real improvements made. Hell, not even removing older assets from the game. Never mind the gamer first comment which he just said a moment ago. This is what EA really cares about. To nickel and dime their player base, even children, for their own selfish gains, and this is why I'm making this video, so people know who they are giving their money to, because at the end of the day, it is the consumer who has the ultimate power over all of these companies. We have to stand together and raise our voices so these greedy corporations know what we want, because if we don't, there will be more people like Jonathan who will fall prey to these egregious practices. Share this video so people may know, and with that we have arrived to the end of this video. I'd like to tell you that I stream on Twitch from Monday to Thursday, 5 PM to 9 PM British time, so give me a follow and come hang out with me and my community. This has been Nexus. Stay safe, gamers. Godspeed.